Welcome to the GHE. In this tutorial, we will be covering clear tube encased colored tubing. Okay, I'm going to start by setting my calipers. I want to make sure that I know what the inside diameter of this tube is. That way when I make a piece of color to slip inside of it, I know it'll fit. So I'm just going to set that to the side for a little bit. We've got a piece of color from a different project already prepared in the kiln. Going to check the calipers. Okay, so I'm too big. I need to go ahead and make this smaller. I also need to make it more of a cylinder. So I've got my blow hose attached to the end of this. I'm going to heat it up. Use gravity to pull it down, and then use my marver to push it the rest of the way, providing just a little bit of air to keep it round. Okay, I'm going to check with my calipers. Alright, looks like it's going to fit. Okay, I need some clear on the end of this so that I don't waste any color in the final process. I'm going to pop a hole in the end. I'm just going to make sure that the hole is the proper size to be able to accept the clear. And I'm just going to use one of my standard handles to be able to go and add clear to this. I'm going to get these liquid hot and stick them together. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut off about 1.5 inches of this in the flame. And now I need to get the whole thing hot so I can blow all of this into a cylinder. Reattach my blow hose. So I'm just condensing that clear down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of air. Start heating more of where the two are sealed together. Now I'm going to blow again, working to get both to blow out together. Pretty close, so this time I'm going to grab my marver. Just give it some air while I'm marvering. One more heat and I should have a good cylinder. Okay, I'm just going to check it against my calipers one more time. Then I'm going to go ahead and switch directions on my tubing. So I need a hole in the end of here so I can put a new handle on it. Okay, just make sure it's the same size hole as the handle. Oh, that handle didn't like me. Grab a different one. Alright, stick the two together, liquid hot. Allow that to set up for a second. Then we're going to do the same thing on this end. Cut off about 1.5 inches of clear tubing. Okay, now I need to melt this end. I'm going to warm up my seal, but I'm first going to start by condensing that clear. Okay, go ahead and give it a little bit of air. Come back in where the two are sealed together. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and blow those two out together. There we go, almost a cylinder. I get that seal real hot again, bring it to the marver, and just blow it into that cylinder shape. Now I just want to make sure the whole thing is one even cylinder from end to end. So I'm just getting a little more heat into the rest of the piece. I'm going to go ahead and take it to the marver again. Alright, the cylinder's looking pretty good. Give it a quick fire polish. Then I'm going to go ahead and check the size on it. Alright, perfect fit. So now that we have our colored tubing, I still need to prep this a little bit. I'm going to grab a clear rod. And what I'm doing is attaching braces to this so that when we sleeve that clear tubing over the outside, there's something to attach it to, so it's not just moving around. So I'm heating up the end of my punty as well as just the side of my handle. And I'm going to pull off about 1 inch of this clear. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that 2 more times. Okay, one more attachment right between the two first ones. I always put one on the tip. It's going to keep this colored tube from moving around inside of the clear tube. It's just here for stability. So pull off an inch of that. Then our piece is ready to be sleeved. So while this heats up back in the kiln, I need to go ahead and make the clear sleeve that's going to go over the top of it. So I'm going to grab that piece of clear tubing that I was testing the size against. I first need to put a handle on it. So I'm going to clean up the end of this and pop a hole. Pulling down a little bit of a tip, just making it a little bit easier to get my handle on dead center. Okay, so I just want to make sure that this is a good seal because we're going to have a little tiny peg that has to run right through the middle of this seal. So you don't want the seal itself impeding it. So there we go. Attach the handle. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut off the section of tubing that I believe I'm going to need. I'd rather have this too long at this point. It's way easier to take glass away than it is to put it back. Okay, so I'm going to take it to the kiln and size check it against the piece that we already made. It's looking like it's going to fit perfect. Okay, so now I need to take this back to the torch and open up the end of it. Just going to pluck away at that thin wall of glass. Thin it out a little more. Pluck away at the thin spot of glass. And it'll actually tear itself open. Okay, so I'm going to grab my big reamer. And then we're going to switch to the gigantic reamer. I don't need it to flare much, I just need to make sure that it's wider than it originally was. Okay, that's perfect. Size check it one more time. And now because I'm going to slip one of these inside the other one, I really want to make sure that they're the same temperature when I do that. So I'm going to let both of them warm back up in the kiln for a little bit. As we flash to the future, we go ahead and pull both of them out of the kiln. At the torch, I'm going to slip one into the other. You can see how that little peg holds it in place. Then I'm going to go back to the other end and start melting those braces to the rim of the clear tube. And this is really going to hold it all in place so it's not slapping around while we encase the color. If that tube inside starts moving while everything's liquid hot, there's a very high likelihood that we're going to trap air bubbles, so we just want it to hold still. Okay, so I let that first brace cool off and set up. It makes the other ones much easier. So these don't have to be pretty seals, but they need to be good seals. Just liquefy the whole thing. You don't want this end of the tubing cracking on you later on while you're in the middle of casing the color. So I'm going to get all of them a little bit warmer. I'm not super happy with the positioning inside of the tube. I want it as straight as possible, so I just get all 3 pivot points hot and just move it around a little bit. Just kind of force it. I'm cutting off the tip just in front of that clear rod. I don't want to seal it to this yet. I'm going to pop the whole thing back in the kiln for one more heat up before we do this. Just make sure that everything is a nice even temperature. Okay, once that's warm enough, I'll go ahead and pull it out. I've got my torch set up so that it's running the outer flame with the inner flame at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to start out on the end of that clear and just start melting the outer tube over the top of the color, working my way from one end to the other. Just watch the glass. You'll be able to see the two of them fuse together as the clear falls onto the color. The handle in my left hand is super liquid at this point, but it's okay. I've still got stability in my right hand. And my left hand will cool off here in just a second as it gets further away from the actual torch. So just slowly but surely, just working my way down. We're allowing gravity to just lay that liquid layer of clear right onto the surface of the color. So you can already see in this process that both ends of this tube are going to end up being trash. That's why we put the clear onto the ends of the original colored tubing, was because I knew I was going to have to throw this away and I didn't want to waste all of that color. So I'm just going to continue melting past that color, down into the clear. Just making sure everything is well encased. Okay, it's a good encasement. I'm going to go back to the original end and start burning it off. Go ahead and pull off just that last bit of clear. This tubing is also super thick now that we've cased it. So before I actually switch directions and work on the other end, I'm going to blow this out a little bit. I'm just trying to get it to more of a workable thickness. Okay, that's blown out pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and blow that out one more time. And I can just tell by the way that it expands that it's much more even than it was. Much happier thickness. Okay, so I'm going to start heating up the tip of it so I can put a handle on it. Okay, my bubble popped a little bit to one side, so I'm just going to want to clean that up a little bit. Grab my scissors and just trim it off. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super pretty at this point. Just want to put it on a handle. Alright, now we can burn off that other end. I'm just going to burn off in the clear. That way I'm not wasting any color. I can always pull off any residual clear if I don't cut it perfect. Okay, start superheating the end of this. Just start stripping it off. Alright, that looks good. Now I want to do the same thing to this side that I did to the other side and just blow it out to a good wall thickness, something that's a little more workable. It also helps to give me a good feel of how much usable glass I ended up with. Alright, that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck this back in the kiln for a later project. This concludes our tutorial on clear tube encased colored tubing. Thank you for subscribing to the GHE.